change. I have kind of change in tone a little bit. I hope that's okay. I'll read from some new poems that are in this pamphlet. You can talk to me if you like to have one. And I had wanted to put in the first poem that I'm going to read a quote by Anna Mendelssohn, which I wanted to steal from one of her poems, but it just didn't fit anywhere, so I'm just going to put it out there, which is domesticated and mythologized, which I think is a quite nice and succinct way of describing the role that motherhood plays in our current times. So in this poem's called Landscape. Landscape. I entered it as if into a mood from which to perceive an outlook, deemed both natural and familiar, like carrying, being, and growing like meat, and its automated gesture treated as instinct, the technology of nipple, excretion, and brain, a grove against a backdrop of bent backs, sweeping meadows through which a rivulet of attention winds its way towards mounting, obstructing objects that interfere with the course of the day. The eye falls into the spillage, the hand reaches for the sponge, the voice finds softness, upon which grace shines like an abject glaring sun, and in regular intervals a sublime thick fog gathers, shrouding dramatic views, in which I do love you like an animal, or rather, I find unimaginable pleasure in being your fur. That's not the question. Rather, that I find myself surrounded by strange figures here, posing as trees, and gravity feels somewhat manufactured. Time appears meticulously retracted to some distant field of production, leaving behind a landscape rooted in timelessness, in the way a sink is endowed with a seemingly exclusionary magnetism, and silence mimics leisure, and the absence of a particular bodily reception of a cry, which, sprouting in this flesh, grows luscious hedges, hands like leaves in the millions as sex gestures handing out hours. Do you ever write what you set out to? I always return to green, says the child, and I return to running my fingers along this economic body pressure points. I once was a verdant concubine to myself. I lie, sans doubt, and what you see is this body turning into soft moss, sinking into the mattress, our cartography of lack. If it were not for some obdurate resisting programming, the off voice once installed will not excuse itself. Poetry and other such wasteful activities. We want to be the talk of those poems, said the children. I'll be right there with you, spelt the line. Meat. I spent the day walking back and forth between two sentences. That is a lie, but so be it. Let's say so for the sake of poetry. I read somewhere that mothers were once lovers who took distance from the group to watch their bellies grow. At that point, I wanted to be a cow, to lie in a meadow and do nothing but chew and regurgitate and chew again, to chase flies away with the shutters of my mighty curves. Take delight in this. I read, I still read, and I did watch my belly grow, however hardly or softly. Watched a thin line emerge and thicken, watched it weave a new rhythm that would come to permeate this meat, called it bliss, called it prison. I spent the day dispersed over 3 bodies, body of meat, body of time, body of the house, each body haunted by the ghost of its own lack. Meat was barely cohesive, time was always missing, the house was never done. I stayed with the first body, sat in its gaze and felt its tongue on mine. You know, it does not lie in my nature, it said, to have a nature or a husband. It's just that I was driven by my interest in landscape and ended up heavily embroiled in it. I didn't take distance, and I can't for that matter. I did grow, but desire never stopped riding me. The landscape was was abysmal and meat stretched thin, cleft open by desire, production, and reproduction, still I remained. Inextricably this growing texture of an opaque constitution. Pulsing, I glided from bed to bed, stepped on soft toes past plants, strips of light, approached an old thought sideways. You're still here, I said, where we address our holes with caution. A distinctly us place where in order to circumvent a plaintive tone, we take our time. Yesterday we were animals squatted in a burrow, feasting on the last scraps of meat we'd grown together, found sleep there, and woke up in someone's dream, saw small fingers split time into shatters, sort the day in three, watched it get stuffed with meat, said, let's stop here where flesh reverberates from the sound of alarm clocks, or let me slip into your bed and pinch your hand like a memory, have the whole world closed off in there. It was touch that brought the discernment, the long drive around the lactating breast, sad traders of this loving meat. Woke up in the workroom, screaming room, hands curled the belly with measurements, pressed down heavily. Now, let me tell you about this meat. You can hang the nipples to dry in the summer air, but the breasts will hurt from the milk they carry. You can nurse sitting upright and guide the suckling child, but the back will ache and the abdominal muscles will be strained, preventing their growing back together. Use is obstacle in purpose, it will utter. It can carry the baby to soothe its crying and compromise the recovery of the pelvic floor. It can sleep, but a labyrinth of dishes will surface on its skin. It can ravel in the night and walk the day like an automaton. It comes to steal precious thoughts from your dreams. It's hungry. Let us walk in a herd, it pleads. Let me tell you, it says to you, to be this meat is like dreaming of God, to see clearly the principles that organize it and have the words blunted against the hours of the day. Time. I don't care, the sun sets without lovers too, with its end of joy temperature and pale light falling on leaves. Press through folds to have some meager drops emerge into the flow. Children cut off by a horizon come too close, cut off by lack of vista. Children playing on the ground, screaming because they are not there. And what agent did you use to thicken the days, thinning out around us? With what finger extensions did you come oozing through the collective body? I'm just here to watch you stick a fist in your mouth and bring the laughter in, to learn that hair is ropes dangling down from heaven, and yet lying on the grass I notice fear you might fall into an October sky. Rough seas in the courtyard, trees flashing, black against gray. You say you hear a voice string up sounds in the air, call it words, but don't understand your first pet escaped into the winter night by playing dead. We dread the first snowflakes will come crushing through the gums, but in this cold everything lost in haste turns up again, and each sound I find a bit of you, alarming. One habit chases the next, and still days are slow, and the washing machine tumbles, and the dishwasher goes, and the stroller wheels, and you can't speed this up, despite the promises ads press into the milk, as if somewhere someone had braved a day without complication. I still read, and lines keep parading themselves in my mind. When I look at the word independent, I see it surrounded by practices of sex work, Simone White. What is this meat, lusting after fidelity as resource, agreement as insurance? No emancipatory capacity, just territorial integrity, Lotti Thießen. Now, I don't mind, I'll go stealing wherever. Each stage of cultural development with its richer intellectual and emotional experiences redefines the image of Eros, Alexandra Kollontai. But most of all, steal time, stretch it, sit at the rim of, come by me, and unglue in the shower. I stand self-satisfied above a sea of fog, sublime 5 minutes of water on my skin, the landscape stretched out below, heavily embroiled. One day, fresh linen split the air in two, sorted winter and spring, flying at your face. Now it's windflowers gnashing through, and you return me to dream, to the psychologist reading tarot in the waiting room of the healer. Corals of mushrooms, ornate, complicated objects in a small vending stall, a casket with balm of misspelled flower hours in it. You look out from your digestion, wave at ghosts, gurgling through the pipes, an eternity of peace traveling from your mouth to my hand and back into your mouth. And now you ask me what I nurse on. Spring, bursting through city grit, solitude, knowing the soul well tended, the outline of birdsong cutting through layer upon layer of memory. This cry means summer, gather salt in the air. This one means you woke up at 6 in the morning to contemplate an empty day and see its hours slowly filled with love and love oozing over time. And finally, I wanted to read an older poem, which is it predates any kids in my life, not like any kids, but like this specific one. Yeah, it's a kind of utopian, anti-national reproduction and anti-biological reproduction poem. And I was thinking maybe that would be a good way to end. And it has like hidden quotes from Blanqui, Melanie Klein, Lisa Yeshka, Nina Simone, Sun Ra, Franco Battiato, and Hugh Newton in it. You might recognize them or not. Baby 3. The monster is awful to look at, but its meat might be delicious to eat. What even is a baby? Each event has its baby, growing like barnacles, boiling on the rocks, with the long-bodied baby stretching through time. What with all this needing, baby zits? What do you want now, you zit? Want a revolution, zit, baby Zeckenkind? Want to be beginning? Water, under the cadaverous moon, almost nothing, baby, imaginary baby, the shit was in the milk, baby, undeserving and born from stone, from Saint Teresa coming to nothing, babe, all muscles. Oceanic babe lives in hordes, in limbo, subaquatic baby hordes with sharp teeth, writhing and bastard logic. What just the other day was bathing or sleeping, and one came out and was coming onto me strongly covered in poop. Vogelfrei baby starfish kiss, eats plastic, all blushing, ganging up on sharks. Hot, hot babe, got bastard logic in the muscles, dear. Like, because of love of life, not afraid of dying, no more needing, yet all fragile. No trash sex, no natural conception. Grow themselves babies on their long life bodies like barnacles. Swim through the border hum-hums, being a tingling, masturbating to the breast with no circumference. They sing the songs of the now time, of the unincarcerated breast time in the incarcerated breast. Swimming on the green abyss, oh yes, yes, telepathy of lost sieve unfolding crystalline through the waves. Takes all kinds of dog babes, they sing. Underswim the state of emergency, they sing. Don't believe the conditions that created a situation that demanded a song like that, they sing. Feelings grow like contradictions, might just make the street smell today, lick it up like ice cream, might just go burning into the sun dear, might just love a fish fist, might just go on no pain or be all pain, to be opened up by barnacles, by swarms, by the very one and only image of you sitting on a ladder with a cloud hanging from your head into the universe. Might just be nothing like any of us, baby. Mutant, robot, hell yes, baby. Baby improvising on the live string, kiss and choke. The very singular smell of you taking off your mask might just be a cycling through the night baby sung under 3 moons and dancing, searching for a permanent gravitational center, babe, then flying off to be the field, boom, boom, baby swaddling groups in the wound. Laughing in the choir, singing, you think this is life, knowing this is not life, shouting life is splendid, like a breast with no circumference, in the now spreading through everything, in the fruit trees, the fruit falling on your head. No other link than a reckless gravitation, might just be a burning motorcycle for a birthday cake. All music we can walk on, bursting fossils in the thoughts, alive in phantom pain. Darling, hungry, hungry babes, the monster is awful to look at, they say, but it might be delicious to eat. And then just a short fragment. XX, my disconsolate darlings. I too was just trying to hold on to the excuse. You are for being alive in our time.